Hello, happy Saturday. Time to unpack a dead bird. If I can get past the tape. Move my microphone a little closer. All the good sounds. Ooh, okay. Okay. Okay, little friend. You look like you're in pretty good condition. Oh, no, it's affecting my brain. Gone and forgotten the scientific term for a mourning dove. Mourning dove. Zaneta macrora. Okay. I can work with that. Okay, so now I have that spelling. This is a nice chunk of data. Oh wow, it has exact times of death and times it was collected. Alright, so this one's presumed hit by a car. That's interesting. Hey, Shard Mom. So yeah, here we are half an hour earlier. Hopefully this works. I might even get crazy and go another half an hour earlier next week. We'll see what works. Alright, so... we're in the filling out data part. Very exciting, but you know, it's important. Zaneta macrora. Feather. So back in the day, if I was doing the specimen... Hey, not here! Glad you can make it. Thanks for coming early. Back in the day, I would have always recopied every bit off of the datasheet onto my new datasheet, but that seems kind of not important here because it's not digital. So I'm not going to rewrite all this great information that Juliana put in here. But look at this. We know it was, you know, exact date, time of day. Here's the story of how she found it. Here's the location that it was found. Like, really good stuff. So... today is the 5th. Okay. That's me. Alright, so I've got species. I'm still going to say the collector just because in case I have other ones that'll help me out. So collector is Juliana. Okay, and then I was doing specimen number. The other one I think was 500, so this will be AF 501. And then on here I will write AF 501 just so we know that these two pieces are related. Oh, there's some sort of grit coming off this bird. It's like laying on the ground makes you dirty. Crazy, I know. Okay. So, blah, blah, blah. I've got all that stuff. Okay, so on to measurements. Let's just get all these down. Yeah, this bird, this dove is no longer mourning, though we may mourn the dove. So, as they are pretty. But yeah, so this one's presumed hit by a car. No one saw the deed happen, but given where it was found next to the road, that's the assumption. Alright, so let me confirm my measurements here. So I'm going to want bill length, bill depth, bill width, head length. I should just pre-write some of these, but I hadn't thought of that, so we're doing this now. Wing cord, Tarsus, let's start over here. Tail length, total length, and weight. Okay. Oh, I forgot to get my scale to be able to do weight. So let me grab that. One hot second. Alright, the old kitchen scale. And since this is a scale I actually use for food, it goes in a Ziploc. Alright. So that is 100, it's pretty much exactly 125 grams. Okay. Clean that later. Alright, various and other measurements. Let's just go in reverse order. Alright, so the bird was frozen in a bag funny, so his head is really sideways. And his neck just feels weird. Yeah, no, if this is a car impact, this might end up being pretty gross. So, we'll see. I won't worry yet. I'll just get in there, see what I find. Okay. Oh, this neck is gonna be a nightmare. Trauma, I tell you, it's like real bad. Alright, I just gotta get a measurement. I'm gonna say it's 272 millimeters. Okay. Tail. Okay, yeah, there's a lot of broken feathers over here. That's not great. It's so funny because the bird looks flawless. Like, it's just everything is smooth and pretty, but these feathers are all coming out on one side. So I wonder if I'm going to see like a bunch of trauma right here. Because there's a lot of feather loss on the bird's left side. Yeah, we'll find out. Good times. not for the bird. Alright, tail is 132. Mourning doves have absolutely gorgeous long tails. Mr. Frightful, you said, is there anything I work with where pathogens are a worry? Oh yeah, sure. Not most little birds like this. It helps that I am a mammal and they are birds, and there's just not that many pathogens that are going to go through. So, seeing as it is a dead bird, stuff that you're going to find on this bird include Salmonella and E. coli. Exactly the same stuff that you'd get handling dead chicken in your kitchen. So, I don't lick my fingers, I clean my work surface, and if I was going to eat it, I would cook it all the way. So, yeah, there are some things here. Bacteria is present. If it was really poopy, you know, that there's, like, why is it really poopy? You'd worry about stuff like that. But in the broadest sense, it's going to be stuff that as long as I wash my hands and use good sense, I'll be okay. Birds that carry, like, lung infections, you have to breathe in the droplets, which means I'd literally have to, like, squeeze the dead bird and get those droplets up here, and a lot of them aren't going to survive the freezing process anyway. So, yeah, there's not a ton I have to worry with about intestinal parasites like worms are usually oral fecal, so I'd have to eat something. So again, if I'm washing my hands and using basic good hygiene, I don't have to worry about it. There's a few exceptions to that with birds. West Nile virus is one you do have to be careful. So if West Nile virus is really prevalent in an area, or if you're working with a corvid, so anything in like the crow family, some ducks, you know, you have to worry about that. But nah, most of them, it's just like handling raw chicken. Oh, buddy, your head is the wrong shape. Oh, small friend. Whoo. Yeah, that left side. We're gonna get in there. So yeah, if I'm working with mammals, then the gloves are on. You know, mice, oh my god, you know, they're famously, rats and mice and things carry all sorts of little friends. So yeah, depending on the specimen I'm working on, I really have to care. And you guys can see I do have a protective coating. I have a sheet of plastic that I put on my work surface so I have a non-porous thing I can clean up. And it helps that it's clear, so when I pick it up I can make sure there's nothing actually stuck to it, because it looks clean. So I do try to keep that stuff in mind. But yeah, good question. All right, Tarsus. I have to move this just up a smidgety. Oh, they have such tiny little tarsi. Okay, so for birds, tarsi is from the ankle up until where the toes start. You know, so you can see the little end of his foot here, and then the tarsus of the foot, and then the ankle. So, reminder for everybody, I always have to mention this, birds do not have reverse knees. That is not a thing. This is an ankle. His knee is here, and it's just a knee. It just does normal knee stuff. So, reminder, there's no such thing as a reverse knee. People need to stop saying that. Alright, tarsus length. Alright, tarsus is... I'll call that 21 millimeters. One wing cord. This guy's still a little bit frozen, which is kind of good, but you know, makes him stiff. Oh, it's a lovely bird. Yeah, because when was this guy found? June. Yeah, prime of its life. Sorry, little friend. Okay. So wing cord is the distance from the wrist to the end of the longest feather. So we're looking at 150, right on the dot. 150 millimeters. All right. Now onto his really, really smashed up head. Oh my god, this is going to be so bad. Yeah, I'm definitely, I'm in sub, oh, hey, Library Rat. Your connection is terrible. Well, thank you for coming on. Good luck. But hey, this is, you'll recognize, this Mourning Dove, so I'm glad you were able to tune in. This bird is mushed. The left side is mushed. Dino, that's brilliant! You're working on a bird-themed Christmas gift and I inspired you to add rhinestones. Hooray! That's fantastic. Oh, I feel so accomplished. Thank you. Wow, how did that happen? Oh, well. Okay. That's fantastic. Head length. Alright. This poor smashed up little head. The overall skull, I think, is intact, so I can get something like a head length, but ugh, it's gonna be bad. Yes, please do. I'm insanely excited now and curious to see that end result. Thank you for thinking of me. 42. 42. Bill length. My Christmas cards tend to have birds on them, but that's as far as I take that. I have to be a little mindful not to squig anybody out. What, 13? 13. 13 millimeters. Bill depth. These guys have skinny little bills. Four and a half. 4.5, and oh, I transposed length and width, so length is up here at 13. Man, does this eraser work? Maybe? Sort of? Whatever. Bill depth. Or bill width, I'm sorry, I got bill depth already. Bill width is... I have to be careful with Mourning Doves. Their face is so soft anyway. Their bill is a little squishy, so I don't want to like make it absurdly small. You have to kind of gently feel it out. Yeah, this one's pretty sad. Here, maybe 6 millimeters. Yeah, so the notes on here that you found it with another bird next to it and you were speculating it might have been a mate. That's pretty sad. So, yeah. Stupid car death. Okay, so I've got the basic stuff. Let's see molt on this little burb. So I'm not expecting molt given the time of year. And these feathers that we're losing, I think, are trauma related. They don't look like molt. They don't have the big wide bottoms. So I think this is, we're not going to see anything, but we'll look, because, you know, I've never met this bird before. Wow, it's just missing the tail feathers on the lower cover tail feathers on the left side. Yeah, I'm not seeing any molt, so I'm gonna molt. None. Okay. So I can put this away. Move this. Alright. So, yeah. So this bird, again, presumed hit by a car in LaGrange, Illinois, on a beautiful day in June. And, yeah, twitching by the side of the road with another bird, another mourning dove sitting next to it. So, that's a bummer. Sorry, little friend. Hopefully, given how extensive your injuries are, it was quick. That's kind of what I'm seeing here. There's just a lot of feather loss. Actually, I should start writing that down in my notes. Notes. Lots of feather loss on the left side. Head misshapen. So, yeah. Might as well get those observations down now, and then when I actually get in there and confirm or find something totally different, I will have my notes from before. Yeah, because I'm not... Basic inspection doesn't get me anything else. Like, honestly, the wings don't even feel broken, things like that. I'm assuming I'm gonna get into this and just find massive internal hemorrhaging. Which is sad. But again, probably quick, all things considered. Since twitching by the side of the road doesn't mean you're not dead. You might not have felt any of that. Alright. So move the feathers out of the way. For anybody who has not seen me do this before, most perching birds that you'll see perching up in trees, do not grow any feathers along the front of their body. And so the fact that you can see this naked skin here, I haven't pulled anything out. It's just always naked. There are no feathers there. And so I just have to wet the feathers with, little bits of water here and move them to the side, and suddenly I have totally naked bird skin here, so I can cut a nice straight line and open them up and not damage any feathers. So... Oh, although that's weird. The feathers are growing sort of unevenly. That's weird. Okay. So you can see that there's feathers growing up almost to the... Oh, you know what this is? The skin is shifted. Okay, I was going to say, it's not like a bad comb over, but no, the skin is actually moved. Oh, weird. Little friend, you're in weird shape. I've never seen one shifted that much, and his head's so crooked, so... Oh, wow, yeah, this guy is in strange shape. Ooh, a lot of body fat, though. Congratulations, little friend. Where is... Wow, yeah, the neck is... I think the neck is, like, brokety broken. Oh, that feels funny. Okay, yeah, no, this will be probably pretty weird. Okay. Let me get half of this paper towel. Okay, time to get some tools out. So... Scalpel. And scalpel handle. Skeezors. And a couple of tweezers. Okay. So this particular kit came with a variety of scalpel blades, and these are probably my least favorite ones. I'm not a big fan of the 11s. Oh well, they'll be fine. Alright, so this is where I start cutting into the bird. For people who are actually watching with video, no, it will not bleed. It's not particularly gory, but I'm warning you in advance. I'm about to start cutting into the bird. So... It's remarkably effortless, because I'm not cutting far. I'm not cutting through muscle. I'm just cutting through the layer of skin. And you can see right through the skin. You can see this white line here. That's its breastbone. The dark purpley areas are the muscle. So you can just... It's literally transparent. It's completely transparent skin. So it doesn't have a lot of fight to it. So all I have to do to cut it open is I lay my scalpel blade on here and just kind of drag it right down that central line. And it just comes apart. And there, now you can see there's the slightly, cloudy version, that's the skin, and then this shinier, darker is the actual muscle exposed. That's all it took. Yeah, and I accidentally cut into the muscle down here a little bit without any effort. Very tender bird. And you can eat mourning dove. There's actually mourning dove hunting seasons and stuff. So. And then this bright orange, or I'm sorry, yellow up here is fat. So this bird was actually doing pretty well. Had a nice layer of fat going on up here by the neck. When birds gain weight, they first put it right here. This is like the prime spot. So not like a human where we put it on our bellies or our butts or whatever like that. They put it right on their gut, or on their neck. I mean, you never know. It's something, butchering things online is different when it has a face. Like, that's what people get to. So no, Mr. Frightful, you have a good point there, but I just try to give people a heads up. I don't need anybody to be surprised or unhappy, you know? Wow, there's just a ton of these feathers loose. I'm gonna put these off to the side. Because if I exclaim, they poof around. Alright. Do I want to go higher than that? Yeah, a little bit. Not by a lot, though. Alright, and then here's where I do something which is unfortunate in terms of the visual, but is important. So you guys can see, again, the big breast muscle, central sternum, and then that blob of fat at the top. Here's the thing, though. I don't want that fat to get onto my nice feathers. I'd rather not have to wash this specimen. I can kind of preserve more scientific information about it if I don't have to wash it. But if it becomes greasy, I have to wash it. I can't have a sticky bird going rancid as a specimen in the museum. So to control that fat, I put wood shavings on it. And the wood shavings obscure everything, which is too bad. I want them down here on the muscle too, because, you know, the muscle's not bleeding, it's not fatty in the same way, but it's still wet. It's still, you know, releasing moisture. And so I don't need that extra, you know, sauce on my bird skin. So let's keep a good amount of sawdust on here. And so I actually do a fair bit of this by feel because I've gone and obscured my view. Alright. And ideally I want to keep this fat, I want to pick it off of the skin and have it stay behind on the muscle. So I can just throw it away. Otherwise I'll have to clean it off later, which is fine. But, you know, if I don't have to, I'd rather not. Just like flocking a miniature. Yeah, same idea. You just throw that fluff on there and it absorbs and creates a nice layer between you and your work. Alright. Well, this is definitely a nice fresh specimen. It's this is looking really great already. No super obvious signs of damage yet. A few things are just acting a little bit weird, but I'm not seeing any big pools of blood. Oh, there it is. Yeah, now I'm starting to see it. Okay, so yeah. The left side, not looking good. And of course, with trauma, something I have to be careful about is, you know, damage to the skin. So it looks good, but I might get there and either it is torn or just putting a little bit of tension on it will cause it to tear. So knowing that my left side is a bit of an issue here is good. And of course, my wood shavings will help me with that as well, because if I do have big puddles of blood in here, I can just dump wood shavings onto it and that'll control it. Oh, it looks like it has some contents in its crop. Yeah, a little bit. Go through that little bit in a minute. So, birds have a little extra pouch in their throat. Many birds, like I should say, have an extra little pouch there. And so when they're eating, they just gobble up all the food real quick, but they put it there. And because, of course, they're not chewing, bird molars are not a thing. And so they'll snarf up a bunch of seeds or bugs or whatever they're eating, throw it in their crop, and start processing it in the crop. And so that's where it mixes with, you know, saliva and other early digestive juices and can kind of stew around for a little bit before heading to the stomach in a more stately manner. And this guy's got something in here. Something dark colored. It was a bummer with the hawk to have its crop be totally empty because, of course, with birds of prey, the crop contents tend to be a critter, and that's fun. But yeah, I won't go for... Well, you know, I might as well go for the crop contents right now. Let's find out what's in there. I don't have to deal with it later. Alright, so in its crop, what do we have going on in here? Something dark. That's leaves. Yeah, so it's been eating... Almost looks like pine. There's a central line and then sprigs coming off of it. Let me get a little landing zone for my crop bits. That's a little feather. Yes, these are like narrow leaves. Yeah, so this is something that I'll have in my data. We always look for crop and stomach contents, you know, so what do we know what this bird was eating on the last day of its life? And in this case, salad. This is a huge crop. You can fit a gumball in here. Not that this bird ate a lot of gumballs. At least not as far as I can see. Maybe rosemary? Oh, wouldn't that be interesting? Yeah, I'm not gonna sniff it. I'm not sticking my nose directly in there, but I'll tell you that no smell is coming from it. So if it was a really strongly scented thing, I might notice it. But again, I'm not actually putting any effort into trying to figure out an odor. Yeah, so not a lot of variety. I'm pretty much seeing just this same green plant matter repeated in here. Taste it. Har, har, har. No, I will not be doing that. Yeah, so let me can zoom a little bit for the curious. Boop. Figure video. Let's see, zoom. Yeah, so it's green plant matter. It's pretty well ripped up, which makes sense. You know, the bird's snapping away at it. Broken up into these nice little bits. Yeah, I don't think it's grass. I think it's something else. And I'm not seeing any other... It's pretty much just this one type of plant. So that's probably about as much as focus as I'm going to get. So, yeah. So, throwing those all over the place. Let me just fix my camera. Alright. Let me get that. Stomach contents back over here. I generally do not save stomach contents or crop contents. It's usually enough to just mark it down. For one thing, the quality of the specimen is pretty poor because it's already partially digested. So in most cases, I wouldn't be able to, like, dry it out or even necessarily put it in, like, alcohol and have it suspend in a way that would be useful because it'll just continue to degrade. So, there. So, notes, blah. Stomach and crop contents. Crop. Green. Plant matter. How else can I describe these? Cylindrical pieces, I'm going to say. And I mentioned this on my last feed, but it's really important to not make a conclusion about it. So I'm looking at these plant bits, and it's fun to speculate. Is it rosemary or some sort of pine? Is it the tips off of something? Is it a grass? You know, what kind of thing is it? And while that's all well and good, if I don't know, and I am not a botanist, I'm not particularly good at plants, if I don't know what that is, I'm not going to write it down. And so instead what I'm doing is I'm describing it. I'm seeing green plant matter. I'm absolutely certain they're plants. I'm not much of a botanist, but I got that part. And then there's cylindrical pieces. You know, so then that could lead somebody else who knows more about this sort of thing to be like, oh, well, they're known to eat the blah, 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 or whatever. So that's probably what that is. But I shouldn't speculate because I don't have enough of a foundation to give good information. And by putting my interpretation on there, I'm actually muddying it for future researchers. Or if I just put down a description, then they've got the closest thing to my eyewitness account. They can speculate wildly based on their own expertise. But I'm trying to keep it a little more pure. So I'm not going to try and guess what plant this is because I do not know. But I will say that the longest piece, let's get a big one here. So there's like a significant chunko there. And so I can say that the longest piece is something, something, something. I'm just going to round that to 2 mil since it's curved. Hello! This is the sort of thing a couple of Polaroids would be useful for. Yeah, but then you have to start making decisions on how much stuff you want to throw into your archive. And so then you have to be preserving the Polaroids. They can't necessarily be stored with other things, because as they degrade, they can't be touching other things. How long is that archival value? You could take digital photos, but then you still have to have the digital information somehow attached with the physical specimen, things like that. So, and then how much hard drive space are you saving? So you have to make decisions about what you're saving when you're looking at 100 years or 200 years. How long are you going to keep the specimen? How much stuff are you keeping with it? So, you know, a little bit of data will last longer attached to the bird and be more universally valuable, not take up a ton of space in any sense, than trying to keep everything and document every step. So, yeah. It would be kind of nice to have a couple extra snapshots with it, potentially, but it's also actually a fairly beefy investment. So, and so the Chicago Academy doesn't include photos of the things pre-done or anything like that, just because they're not doing any active research. Now, if you had a researcher who was looking for some specific thing, I am studying crop contents. Oh, well, poo. Then in that case, you're saving everything and you're, you know, whatever the format would be most useful for them. Fine. But for people who are working with an archive where they're coming into it once it already exists, then you just have to roll with it. The sword, oops, sorry. Anyway, the one above me. It's not a specific sword. I found that at a Spirit Halloween for like $15, and I couldn't walk away. I was like, take my money, guys. Just give me the giant plastic sword. So yes, that thing is epic, and I love it. Thank you for noticing. What was the 2mm measurement? Wait, where? Yeah, the 2. Oh my gosh. Thank you. 20 millimeter measurements. LT, you just saved my data. 20 millimeters. I was looking at 2 centimeters and I forgot to move the decimal. So thank you for saying something. Give it a Facebook page, they delete nothing. Facebook page is just for dead birds. Alright, so yeah, this stuff is now effectively garbage. It's interesting, but I've written down the data that I'm going to glean from it. It's possible if it had something like seeds that's going to last a little longer than a really juicy leaf, maybe I'd save it. I have saved bones, I've saved some things, but I generally don't worry about crop contents. So, alright, so we'll move that aside. Alright, now I have this gapey, gross crop, so of course the answer is more sawdust. Just try to not have that spread moisture too far. So now my next kind of direction is I'm going to try and cut the head off. Yeah, no, LT, thanks for saying something. That's one of those things I usually try to review my data, and things like that will stand out. I'm like, 2 millimeters, that's tiny. Oh, but it's so much better to catch that sooner. So thank you. This is why working in a lab with other people is nice. Working by yourself is hard. So thanks for being in my lab tonight. Alright. So I've skinned now entirely behind the neck. And so what I'm planning on doing is I'm going to sever the neck and then just start peeling the skin off like a hoodie. And then I go take out the whole body, take out the meat on the legs, take out the detail meat on the wings, then I go and do the head last. Heads are hard. I kind of save them after I've taken all the other weird elements out, so I don't have to worry about them. And just getting the body out right away is great, because then you get the big, bulky, sticky, gross thing full of poop and guts out of your way. Just clean up your work area. So I'm going to remove the whole crop with the torso, so I want to aim above that. Oh, and actually you guys can see really nicely right here. That is some leaves. Gross. You guys can see the trachea real nicely here. So this white tube here, that is the trachea. So on your trachea is the ridgy part on the front of your neck. The ridges are made of cartilage, which is the same stuff like your nose and your ears and things are made out of. And that keeps the tube open. So you don't swallow food through your trachea, you breathe through it. Food just goes through a saggy, wet, mushy tube. Your esophagus is just this wet, mushy thing. Because the food will work out itself and it's just going one direction, it's fine. But your trachea needs to stay open so that air can effortlessly move back and forth. And so most vertebrates have tracheal rings. They have the cartilage rings to keep it nice and stiff, but, flexy. So that guy's is on display. All right, so I'm going to cut his head off. I am starting to see some of the trauma, by the way. Can you guys see a little bit? This red part here, there's some red up along here. Those are weird. They're around blood vessels, but those are looking like there's some damage there. I'm expecting the head to be just the hamburger. Alright, so that's his neck off. And then I skin down the back so that I can take the wings off. And you can keep all these things attached. If you wanted to skin it out and not cut the head off, that's absolutely a thing, and that's really good if you need the head to make like a body model. So a lot of people will do that. But if you don't, and this is going to be, since the model for this is a scientific study specimen, I don't need to have everything really laid out exactly the same way. Meh. I just do it in separate pieces. It's nice to take a big project and divide it into smaller projects. Just makes the whole thing a little more straightforward. So right now I'm skidding around under the arm, or wing. This bird did not 100% thaw, so this is very cold. People will ask, does it smell? No, birds don't particularly smell. I do not, when I'm doing skinning, I should specify, I don't work with rotten stuff, and so this does not smell like rot. If it was rotting, the feathers would fall off, and I would not get a good specimen, so there's no point in that. So, again, if I was to stick my nose right into that, which I am not going to, but if I wanted to, it would just smell like raw chicken, more or less. So I'm trying to just get completely under that wing. There we go. Alright, so I can just... So you can see this big shoulder here. So, front of the breastbone, there's the neck. This is his armpit, and then shoulder, and then on towards the wing. And I'm just gonna slice through... feathers everywhere. I'll chop through here. There, now it smells a little bit like meat because I actually opened it a little bit, which is not, terribly shocking. Alright, so I got one wing off. Let's pop over to the other one. Get this guy off. Ooh. There's starting to be a... it's kind of in shadow. You can see a little bit how the tissue here gets dark. So the area down by that knee is... Ooh. Yeah, okay, I shouldn't... stay the course. Just get the wing off. Do it in order. We'll get to the horrible trauma soon enough. So for anybody who missed the beginning of this stream, this bird was found by the side of the road in LaGrange, Illinois, with another mourning dove standing next to it looking pretty sad. The assumption is that this bird was hit by a car. And I'm seeing enough signs of trauma that seems like a pretty solid assumption. So no one saw it get hit. It was found after said event. But I'm starting to see evidence which is in line with trauma of that sort. So. Oh, that's a lot of blood. Okay. Yep. Yeah, so you see how this is just absolutely bloody and full of gore on this side? Whereas I cut through this, you don't see anything. That's just nice, perfect pink. Oh, it's not just mourning, but recently bereaved. Oh, whop whop. But yeah, so that's trauma. There should not be that much blood just oozing around in there. Yeah. Not shocking. But now I have to be careful not to get too much blood on my feathers, because again, they're nice and clean right now, and I don't want to have to wash it. Okay. So just tons and tons of wood shavings. Block that out. Okay. And the blood, it's not necessarily that there's a lot of blood there because the shoulder is broken. It didn't feel that way to me. But if there's a break anywhere within the bones are hollow, and so the blood just flows through them like crazy, so... Yeah, even if it was like a hairline fracture, probably would have been evident. And that's the left wing, so... Yeah, good amount of fat on this bird. Real healthy bird, other than the parts that are not. I'm just picking off a little bit extra fat on this side, but... So again, wood shavings, they make the whole thing not look as pretty, but they're super useful. Okay, so our first major, you know, trauma sign. Do I have a tear? Did I tear this? Oh dang, I tore the right side a little bit. Nope, that's me error. User error. I will repair that later. The important thing when you realize that you've torn a skin is to just not make it worse. Tears happen, bird skin is thin. Just don't make the problem worse. Yeah, and like this is probably a tear. You guys can see those 3 lines there. That's the bottom of a couple of feathers. And I shouldn't be able to see that, so that's a minor tear. I won't have to repair that. That's small enough that the fluff will cover it, but my goal is to not make it bigger. The fact that I'm getting tears on this bird and I didn't on the little hawk I did last makes a lot of sense because this one has trauma. So, you know, the skin is damaged. But, you know, it's still annoying. So I'm down by his hips right now. Yeah, there's the yellow tinge here. That again is some nice fat. It's not as caked on as it is up by the neck, but it's just a nice layer of fat on this bird. Healthy bird. Except for, you know, the part that killed it. So the next thing I'm looking for is a knee. I'm gonna cut the legs off at the knees. So again, that's not a knee. That joint right there is an ankle. The knee is up here. Or if I move this aside, it's that bit. So I'm looking for that knee. Okay, that's interesting. There's damage on both sides. So it's predominantly on the left, but there's pooled blood here on the right side. The left is a ton. Yeah, there's a lot of damage down here. Ooh. Okay, yeah. Sorry I'm not as chatty for this. I'm really trying to deal with the fact that the skin is full of minor tears. So like there's another one. It's not bad. The final specimen I'll get out of this will still be lovely, but you know, gotta go a little bit slower. Okay. Let's get that knee off. Fun fact, birds do not have kneecaps. Kneecaps are really useful if you are, you know, standing very, very upright and you need extra support so your leg doesn't slip off the front. Birds don't need that. So, oh geez, look how much this is still bleeding. Yeah, that's a lot of pooled blood. Heads up, everybody, getting hit by cars is bad for you. Look both ways before you cross the street. Gonna go. Yeah, okay. Okay, so I've got that one leg totally free. So to catch you guys up, the knee, I cut through the knee here. This is the front of the bird. If I move some of this, you can see a little better. So this is the sternum, neck, shoulder, knee. So let's get that other knee off. I did a better job on the other side keeping the fat on the muscle. Oh well. I can get this later. Oh, it's noticeably greasy though. Fatty birds are just a nightmare and a half. And there's a lot of fatty birds out there. All ducks. You know, pretty much any successful bird is going to be a fatty bird. So they're harder to work on. And a sad, emaciated bird is much easier to taxidermy. But, you know, sad, emaciated bird. So, not necessarily something one is rooting for. Alright. I should have enough to get this knee out anyway. Oh, that's a tear. And it's this left side, so of course it's... Ugh. Yeah, okay. Take this in steps. Man, yeah. Don't get hit by cars. It's real bad for you. Lessons from a bird. Yeah, so that's a pretty big hole. You guys can see this feather coming like right through here. So this whole gray, I'll just move. It's not attached to anything. Oh my god, yeah, look at all these feathers. So different than working on that perfect hawk. I still don't know what killed that hawk, which is frustrating. Certainly know what killed this guy. Yeah, so this is a big tear. This is the tissue here got stressed by whatever killed the bird and has kind of let go as I'm trying to pull the muscle loose from it because, of course, that's just one more trauma I'm acting upon it. So that one will probably require a couple stitches. It's not a huge problem, but it's another one. Just don't make it bigger. Which I think I literally just did as I was saying those words. Rock and roll! Okay. And like there's, it sucks, there's this bunch of fat right here next to the tear, so I'm trying to get the fat away and off without also making the tear bigger. So there's that challenge. There we go. Okay. So I've got, it's kind of a two-parter tear, but I've got it more or less under control, so that's good. Okay. Oh, yeah, there's so much damage down here. Yikes. Don't get hit by cars. It's real bad. Oh, yeah, the whole bottom of this bird is just ripping. This is rough. This is rough. Okie dokie. Shoot. Okay. Let me just take a pause. Here's what's going on. You guys can see all of these white feathers here. Some of those are supposed to be there. Some of those are the original edge of the incision that I made. Rock and roll. Fine. But starting about here-ish, this last like inch, is stuff that's just been tearing. So it's like unzipping. It started from the bottom of the incision that I made, and then it's just continuing down with the slightest bit of pressure. Because it's so traumatized. The tissue just has nothing left to hold it together. Which is a real bummer. Even finding the edge of the tissue, it's just sort of all liquefied. That's not true. That's not the way to describe it. It's trauma. If you guys imagine that cells are like, little individual squares all lined up on top of each other, so there's cell wall and then the next one is cell wall. So you can imagine them as a bunch of little empty boxes. Well, boxes with important stuff in them. This has basically crushed all of them. So all I'm seeing is, jumbles of the layers of tissue as opposed to like individual bits that I can say, oh, this is the top layer, this is the bottom layer, this is what I'm supposed to be doing here. I don't have that kind of differentiation right now because it's so ripped apart. Yeah, like I'm not even sure where the belly skin restarts here. Maybe? Maybe? Is this it? Because what I have to do is I have to go from where I can see it. So there's a bit of skin here. I can see the real skin there. If I can follow that edge, I can usually... Man. Usually. Wow! Yeah, and the blood just keeps falling out of this. You shouldn't be like that. Gross. Okay. Well, the good news is I found the top of the tail. So I just need to empty out my preen glands here, and then I think I'm going to have to start cutting stuff loose just so I don't have to worry about it getting worse. I think this is a preen gland, or is that the muscle? That's muscle. Where is it? Yeah, that's... Maybe I'm not down to my preen gland yet. Because that looks like exposed tail feathers. Oh, wow. Yeah, this bird's whole bottom part is just in the worst shape. Oh, there's a preen gland. Okay, well. Let me get... Normally I scrape this. I'm going to have to just smush it because I don't want to do any more pressure down here than I need to. So pros and cons here. Obviously I'm bummed that the bottom of the bird is ripping so badly. But it is giving me interesting data about, you know, how it died. I can see what happened here. The back end of the bird is pretty smushed up, and I didn't even get to that head yet. So this is data. It's okay. I'm not trying to make a really beautiful display specimen here. I'm just trying to learn from it. So it's too bad, but... Mr. Frightful, you would recommend me to Minnesota_Taz. He spatchcocked and carved a turkey for the first time last week. I love spatchcocking turkeys. There is no other way one should ever roast a turkey. You cut that backbone out, crack the sternum, and flatten that guy out, and it is so tender and juicy when you're done. So yes, everybody should learn how. If you eat meat, if you eat bird, you should learn how to spatchcock. It's a remarkably great cooking technique that I hadn't even heard of most of my life, and then when I somehow came across it, I was like, this is a game changer. So yeah, no, I will look up that particular person, but you're completely right. Spatchcocking is the correct way to eat, to prepare for eating a roast bird. Okay, so I think I'm going to have a little bit of a hard time cutting through this. I need bigger scissors. All right. So this is the top of the tail. Yeah, so I'm going to move this guy over here. Normally I do this in one cut, but this is acting weird enough that I'm going to be really cautious and do multiples here. Okay. Oh, that's real bad. I don't know what's happening there, but I don't like it. Okay. This is trauma. Whew, trauma's a bummer. It'll kill you. Yeah, so there's... The guts are kind of oozy there, which is not shocking, given the damage. Okay, so here's my challenge, is I've got this meat on the end of the tail here that I want to remove, because of course I want all the moisture and fat and muscle out of my specimen so it'll dry well. However, it's falling apart, and so I have to be real mindful of what I'm tugging on, which parts I'm at, because I don't want to just have the whole thing fall apart in my hand. So it's the old over prep problem. You can't just take everything out of everything. You'll over prep it and potentially damage the stuff that you want to leave behind. But the whole point is to remove things, so you have to find that balance. Oof. Oof, oof, oof. Okay. Oh, that looks like soft muscle. Okay, that's a little bit that I can just trim out. Not a ton, though. I don't want to mess with a lot of this. Well, when in doubt, dry it out and figure it out later. Alright, so that tail is holding on by a thread. Not super pumped about that, but it's holding on, so it's okay. So yeah, pack a bunch of sawdust in that. Move on. So, going back to talking about turkeys, briefly. Rubbish. I did not want that on the wing. Let me move that. So here is my entire bird body, covered in wood shavings, so it's a little hard to see, but to take you guys through it, neck, big bloody shoulder where it got really ripped up, big sternum, knee, and then rear end, and then the spine goes all along here. So it is a little roasted turkey. You can see the big breast meat there. And again, you can't eat these. Mourning doves have a hunting season. They are definitely something people eat. So there's that. So I'm going to move that off to the side with piles of wood shavings and lost feathers. Ugh. Yeah, this guy's a mess. Alright, small friend. Okay. How am I doing? Not terrible. Not the best. Not terrible. Yeah. Oh man, I just lost a tail feather. That I'll save. The little body feathers come and go. Those I'm not worried about. Tail feathers you don't really want to lose if you can help it. So, okay. So I've got the main skin here flattened out. Wings, feet, and his little head. So now I'm going to get the detail cleaning done. So first I gotta get the legs. Luckily these tend to be easy. However, with the damage, I gotta go a little cautiously. The birds that I'm most familiar with working on are head trauma. So they're birds that smacked into windows and died of concussions. And so all of the damage is just on their face. So that's much more concentrated and easier to work on. Something like this where you hit by a car, the whole body is affected by the massive force that took it out. So it's a little tougher, but it's coming along. Okay, so this is the right leg. And so, for everybody continuing with the cooking metaphor, this is a drumstick. Let's move this up a little bit. Keep holding things kind of up. So, drumstick. This would, potentially delicious, I suppose. And so for this, all I gotta do is cut a bunch of tendons at the ankle here. Get that guy off. Okay, and then this is easy. So I've cut all of the tendons at the ankle here, and I'm just holding onto them, and then I can just pull the meat off. So, because all the tendons are in there. So, P.S. if you're cooking, that's a great way to get the leg meat off, is you just cut all the tendons and pull it off the end. Or to do lollipop chicken, you can do lollipop chicken legs where you take your drumsticks or wings or things like that and just pull the tissue up, wrap around the top, and then deep fry it. But I digress. Alright, so there's a nice leg. I'm purposely leaving this end on here, so that's the natural end of the bone, that's the actual joint. I don't want to cut through the bone if I can help it, because then you get a really sharp end, and I'm trying to not have more sharp pointy things in my specimen. So that's done. I can just kind of tuck his foot back in there, do the other one. There's some damage on this one. I can see some bruising in this leg. It's not super... Oh, well. I was going to say it's not super bad, but yeah, actually... So there's a definite something going on here. You can see this, like, kind of bullseye-looking thing. Yeah, and there's a little damage to the skin. So... And just in general, this is darker. You can see there's a little more... intramuscle bleeding. Not too bad though. It's not like it ripped the skin here, so that's nice. Okay, so this I should just be able to clean this off, no problem. So many runaway fuzzies. Okay, so I got my tendons cut. I just grab the end and pull the meat off. Just that easy, as Bob Ross would say. And this is a Tarsus, which actually is a tibia Tarsus. And so there's a little like bone fragment here that's a fused bone, and sometimes I cut that off. In this case I am. Because for us, in our calf, we have our tibia and fibia. The birds have a tarsus and a tibia tarsus, and it's a little different. Same basic stuff, though. Okay, so put that leg back. Losing a lot of feathers still. Okay, wings. Let's do your right side first. So the right side I tore. I don't think this is was damaged to the bird, although I could be wrong, but it's definitely got a big tear in it, so I have to make sure I don't make my tear worse. Such as, what am I looking at here? Ah, okay. Pull that out here. So it is useful sometimes to look, you know, fluffy side of the bird and then flip it over so I can see the other side of the bird. You get lost. You know, you're looking at a lot of meat. You have to make sure that you don't lose your frame of reference. And so in this case, I have feathers poking through, which makes it very confusing. And so I have to make sure I know, like, which part of the wing I'm actually on, and which part's the inside, which part's the outside, which things are in the wrong spot, etc. So in this case, my tear on this side is just this little bit here. You can see this kind of darker circle. That is a tear. So I have to make sure that my edge here is not just the edge of the tear, but actually, like, you know, pulling away and making sure I'm not just unzipping it worse. It's actually still kind of getting worse, so I have to be careful there. And then on this side, you can see this huge blob of gray. That's a problem. And so that stuff, some of that I can tuck back in there, actually. Make that look a little less bad. But same idea, I have to make sure that this isn't just continually tearing. Which is the trick, isn't it? Okay, so I've got this side. Yeah, I can see, there's my hole, you can see this gray area, but now I've got it away from the muscle of the wing, so I fixed that. Well, I didn't fix that tear, I have controlled that tear. And then for the other one, the big one, okay, I got it. So now the big one is still real big, but it's now away from the edge of my skin. So I can see I have this nice... Go away! I have this nice straight line here where my skinning is, and all of the muss and whatever's down here, and I'll just repair that later. You can fix anything as long as you don't set it on fire. And if you're setting your taxidermy on fire, there's probably a lot more things going on. So. Okay, I'm up to the elbow. Thank goodness. Mourning doves are very strong flyers. They actually have really beefy wings. So this part's always a little bit more of a challenge just because there's a lot of muscle in here, which is good for them. Okay, so... in birds' wings, their wing feathers are actually embedded in their bone. That's how they get lift. And so their feathers aren't just loose in their skin like we have for the whole rest of this, where it's just, you know, skin with, like, effectively hair coming out of it. In their wings, the base of the feather is actually embedded in the bone. It's part of the radius, or joined to the radius. And so I actually have to break all those loose. Sometimes you can hear it. This is a big enough specimen. You guys will probably hear me do this. Oh, yeah. See, I'm literally popping and cracking those loose. Let me loosen this up. I'll do that again. You guys can hear that. Because, man, I think it's neat. Yeah, the good cracks were at the beginning. Oh, that's really wet. Alright, almost got it. So, a little bit of meat come loose. Which, I mean, that just happens when you have this much wood shavings. It's easier to lose track of where things are and pull something loose that you didn't mean to. Not a biggie. Just trying to get that back. Because I don't want to leave a bunch of muscle on my skin. That's, again, the whole point of the endeavor. So... Okay, so the wing's in good shape on the right side, so that's nice. Don't have to worry about that particularly. Okay, so here's my wing. And so you've got up here, this is the shoulder, elbow, wrist. So you can see that perfect little joint. And then this goes into the rest of the wing, which the feathers are still all attached to. I actually don't need the humerus at all. So I can just cut that off. And then I'm going to keep both the radius and the ulna in place. That's been working pretty well for me, so I'm going to keep doing that. You can just remove the radius. It's a really, really thin... Oh, I'm sorry. The feathers are attached to the ulna. My bad. You can remove the radius. In this case, I'm probably going to leave it. I've been liking doing that with larger birds. And so kind of just like the leg, I'm just snipping loose the tendons. And tendons are pretty easy to find. They obviously feel different. They're, strong, slippery things. And then they look different, too. So if I'm doing it visually, they look like silver bands in the midst of all of this pink. So they're pretty easy to find. So I'm just using the wood shavings to literally scrape the meat out from between those bones. So if you're eating chicken wings, it's a real good part. If you're eating Mourning Dove wings, again, I'm assuming it's actually pretty good. Alright, so get rid of that. So now it's just these two forearm bones that I'm trying to get all of the meat and morsels off of so I can have the nice clean bones. And in this case, leaving the bones behind is a trade-off. You can just remove them, but the shape and the position is such that it really helps give the wings structure when I'm done. And they're small enough that I'm not really worried about it being too much moisture and material in here that might go bad. So, hey library rat, it is going okay. The bottom of this bird has been rough. Do you have a more stable connection now? But yeah, the damage from being hit by the car on the bottom of the bird is rough. Lots of tears. Although that wing's looking good. So you guys can see those. So the little one's the radius on the top, and the ulna's the big guy on the bottom. So, pop that back in. Yeah, and I have a pretty gnarly set of tears here in that armpit. But I'll repair them. It's not a big deal. Just don't make them bigger. So let's see how the left side is. The left side, hypothetically, is going to be worse because that's where the worst trauma is. But I hadn't already ripped it a whole ton, so we will find out. Just gotta go through the process and see what I got here. Thanks, not here. I could use the cheering right now. Hey, Mega. No, this one is for the Academy. This is a Mourning Dove. I appreciate the cheers, you guys. This has been a rough section. This is a little Mourning Dove. So this one is still covered by the Migratory Bird Treaty Act, although you can hunt these with a license. But in this particular case, no, this one will also be going to the museum. But it's much smaller, or, like 50% smaller than the hawk that I was doing last week. So it's going a little bit faster, but man, this one was hit by a car, so it's... yeah. No, the tears are real. This was hit by a car, and when it was found, another mourning dove was sitting next to it and didn't want to leave its side. So that's really sad. It's sad. It did not look both ways before crossing that street. So as was pointed out earlier in the stream, we had a mourning dove who was mourning for this dove. So yeah, the damage is pretty bad. It's mostly on the lower part. Like, honestly, working on this wing so far, I haven't seen particular much damage up here. Which has been kind of nice. I say that, I might have literally just gotten to it. Where are we? Yeah, okay, never mind. I spoke too soon. Yeah. There's, I think there's some damage down here by the elbow. Yeah, look both ways before you cross the street. Getting hit by cars is super bad for you. Especially if you happen to be a tiny bird. I don't know how many people on Twitch are actually small birds, but you know what? On the internet, no one knows your dog, so who am I to make assumptions? Ooh, yeah, around the elbow. Ooh. I don't know if this is just road rash or impact, but there's damage around this elbow. I don't know how much that... Can you guys see the darker stuff along there? The desk workout. No, alright, let's do this. I'm not going to roll the die right now just because my hands are dirty, and so I'm not going to pull that out. But Library Rat has redeemed desk workout for channel points. I'm going to use that. So, what was the one we did last time? I think it was shoulder rolls was really good. So let's do that. I think that's going to be really valuable right now. So for anybody, I encourage everybody to do desk workouts with me. All of us are sitting in front of our computers way too much right now, and so it's good to move anything. So you basically want to move your shoulders where you move them up towards your ears and then you roll them forward. And so do that 5 times forward, or 5 or 10, let's say it's 10. 10 times forward and then pause and then do them 10 times back. You lift towards your ears and go back. So let's do forward first. So I'm going to do 1, ow, ooh, phew. Hang on. Apparently I need this more than I thought. Let's roll them back first, then I'll go forward. Maybe that'll work better. Okay, so 1, ow, yeah, okay. 2, 3, ow, ow, ow. 4, 5, 6, ow, ow. 7, I think it hurts so good, Mr. Fribel. 8, ow, ow, ow. 9, ow. And 10, yeah, evidently I needed to do this. Okay, before I do the other reps, I gotta shake that out. Wow. Yeah, no, Library Rat, you were right. It was time to not be... Oh, Mega, you're rough on me. Okay, let's finish this one. I'm gonna go forward 10 times, and then we'll do one for Mega. Alright. 1, ow. 2, 3, 4, 5, ow, 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 6, 7, 8, 9, ow, 10. Oh, guys, you're killing me. Okay, Meganura. Let's do arm circles. Oh, you want to do chair swivels? No, okay, we have a request for chair swivels. Yeah, no, obviously we all need this, because, I mean, everybody, you're on your keyboard, right? You're crunching forward, so, yeah, I think the crunching means it's working. I am not a health instructor. Alright, so let's do chair swivels. This one's fun. So if you're in a desk chair that has the swivel, then you do it the way I'm going to do it. If you don't, if you have a stationary chair, you guys are great, then you keep your legs planted on the floor and you just move your shoulders. But for any of us who have a swivel chair, this is a real benefit because swivel chairs are automatically fun. So you take your hands, you plant them on your desk, you lift your feet up just slightly, but you want your feet to still be in kind of a sitting position, so don't like stick them out too far, but have them up so you can do this. and then hold your desk, and then twist your desk. So I think we just do this 10 times. So 1, 2, ow, 3, ow, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Okay. Way to use your channel points, people. I hope other folks had a chance to do those too. It's good to remember that we're all a bunch of sedentary marshmallows, and moving your body is actually pretty good for you. I actually do feel different. So, desk exercises, they actually do a thing, as kind of silly as they are. Alright. For the people who redeemed your channel points, I hope that was good for you. I hope that was what you're hoping for. Whew. Yeah, no, these are fun. Oh, which reminds me, I don't think I turned off kitty visits. So please, anybody, if you see the kitty visit thing and you have enough points, please don't do that tonight while I'm doing taxidermy. I don't want my cat in here. But, roll your neck too, please. Oh, man. Ow. Ow. Yeah, no, ow, 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 ow. The crunching is so real. Ooh. Okay. Actually, no, it does feel different. Doing all that stuff and hating every second of it actually does kind of, like, loosen stuff up. It does make a difference. So that's the whole reason I have it on there, is because I know it's good for me. So thanks, guys. I appreciate your support. I hope you all are feeling a little bit limbered up or invigorated, too. Okay, on that, let's get this wing done. Whew. This total beast of a wing. Oh yeah, I can really feel my neck has gone through some changes. Alright. Yeah, the damage down here is legit. Have I had water lately? Library rat. I'm okay. I have in the past sometimes had a water bottle in here with me, but I realize I want the desk space. I need hydration channel points. I'm okay. Tell you what, I'll plan on taking an actual, like, break once I finish the head. And then I promise I'll go get some water. Because you're not wrong. Absolutely not wrong. Alright, so the worst damage around the left side wing so far has been by the elbow, which, for anybody who's ever wiped out ever, you hit your elbow, so that seems to be what this bird did. That's a big tear now. Okay, so that tear got worse. You can see all the feathers coming through here. I had kind of lost track of that one, and I think it was growing a little bit while I was pulling on something else. It seems to be okay right now, but I gotta watch that. Yeah, for sure. As a library rat, you remember the days in the lab where everything's suddenly going wrong and then you realize it's been like 5 hours since you had some water. Yeah, it's crazy that your meat bag needs water to function correctly, and it's so easy to forget when you're really focusing on something. But it makes all the difference. Alright, so yeah, that wing is not anywhere in as bad a condition as I thought it was going to be. There's, I mean, that you can see some bruising around the elbow, not a ton. It's not super bad. But yeah, so there's a little bit on this wing, and then the tears that I made. Alright, so let's get this loose. Grieving Widow, something that goes in the lab notes? Yes, it is. So that's something where I wouldn't... I have the original finder notes, which do speculate that it might have been a mate. I wouldn't necessarily do that. I would write down, you know, another bird seen nearby, lingering by the body. But it's in the original finder notes, so the collector notes. So yeah, so that will be in there, and that's valuable data. I actually had a similar thing. I found... Oh, that wrist is broken. Oh, interesting. I found a squirrel that had been hit by a car, and it's dead in the middle of the road, and there's a bunch of other squirrels just in the parkland around it who don't seem particularly bothered, but interestingly, there was also an injured coyote. And I don't know, I didn't see it, no one I talked to saw it, but I wonder if the coyote chased the squirrel into the street and was also hit by the car. And so while I was there quietly picking up the dead squirrel, Chicago CPD actually showed up to grab the coyote. And it was limping. It was in pretty bad shape. It kept stopping and laying down. So I don't know what happened to that. Hopefully it ended up at a local rescue. But that was one where I wonder if that was the aftermath of a failed predation. But I don't write that in the notes. What I say in the notes is I saw a bunch of squirrels that weren't paying a lot of attention. I saw a coyote that was injured and was laying in the grass nearby and occasionally limping. You know, so I stopped before I get to the speculation. But yeah, absolutely. Having that, like, environmental image to add to the specimen is really valuable. It really is good data to have with your specimen. So, yeah. Totally mention that stuff. And again, mentioning, you know, you found it by a tree, by a bush, whatever. You know, any of those little things that might be something that's, you know, some future researcher's looking for. Like the coyote equivalent of of seagulls dropping clams on a road. I don't think the coyote was that smart, unfortunately. I think in this case it biffed it. I think it was so intent on catching a squirrel that it got hit by a car itself. So, yeah, exactly. Run over at the drive-through, or just, you know, it's eyes on the prize. It and the squirrel are running around, and they don't even notice that they hit pavement, and then they hit pavement. So, yeah. Roads, they're a problem. Okay, so I've got the wings out, I've got the legs out. This is nowhere as tidy of a specimen as I did before, so you guys can kind of see, you know, big hole there with feathers coming through it. There's another hole there with feathers coming through it. You can see the feathers sticking out here, so I'm going to have a lot of repair work that I have to do with this, which is too bad, but that's okay. It happens. All right, let's get the head out, and then I will take a break and figure out what I want to do next. Yeah, and the head is definitely crushed in on one side. I can tell that. So it's really going to be... Getting tears around the face is a bummer. Humans care about faces. We're really fixated on faces. We care about eyes. And so if you biff, I don't know, the left thigh of a bird, no one's going to notice it. You just push the feathers down and don't worry about it. But if the eyes are kind of wonky or the shape is wrong, everybody notices. So I'd rather not screw that up if I can possibly help it. We will see. We will see. It's okay. So what I'm trying to do now is get all of the tissue bits that constitute the column of the neck all in one little clump. There's a tear. You can see that feather came right out of there. This is a little tougher because there is some damage. Well, that guy's just lost. The bird is fatty, and it had that really big crop, and so the crop tissue is kind of around too. Let me get those feathers back where they're supposed to be. Okay. So there you can see the tear here, and the reason why it tore is there's some tissue there I wanted to remove. That seems to be sticking to stuff. Not great. Not great. Yeah, if this head is super damaged, this is going to potentially end up looking pretty funny, but there's nothing I can do about that. Things often die because their heads get messed up. Like, your head's real important, so when stuff happens to it, you don't usually survive it. Okay, well, I'm past the tear, so you guys can see the tear kind of blowing out the side there. So again, my goal is to just not make that bigger. don't screw with that too much. Okay. I can already see the blood starting on this side. I just gotta go real slow. Well, it's a nicely ossified skull. Ossification is to become more bone-filled, basically. So I don't know how much you got. Yeah, you can kind of see that white element there. It's the thoroughly ossified skull. Was there anything in the crop? Yes, library rat. Oh, I still have it actually. Bunch of greens. So lots of leaf fragments. Don't know what they are. They're kind of cylindrical plant fragments. So yeah, the crop, it wasn't like full, but it was a very good amount in the crop. And this bird has a nice, healthy, reasonable amount of fat on it. So it was doing okay until the moment it didn't. Okay, okay. Ooh. So you guys can see there's damage here. This is the skull is broken starting here at this point and then moving forward, so I'm gonna have to be really careful just to not have this tear a ton. Here, let me see if I can get the other ear out. If I can get the right hand side out, give me a little more play. So I'm trying to pull the ear inside out. Okay, you can see ossification? Yeah. You of course have skin that goes from your cheek down inside your ear, and so if I can just pull this little tube of skin out, the whole specimen usually stays in slightly better condition. It doesn't really matter, you can actually just cut it, but if you can get it to come out, it's cool. Maybe? Almost got it? Okay, there. So, this little bit right here is the ear. So I got that out. Okay. Alright, so the right-hand side is in pretty good shape. This shouldn't be tough. That left side, though, left side's oof. Okay, so there's already a really, significant tear. You can see the feathers coming out here pretty badly. The blood is actually, ooh, there we go, dried to the skull a little bit. So I think it was open to the air and then managed to dry. Yeah, so I've got that nasty bit. Yeah, the eye orbit's crushed. Well, let's see if I can get his ear out. Be nice to get the ear out as whole as possible, so there's just more tissue over here. No, it's tearing on this side. That's not shocking. It would have been nice if it didn't, but given how screwed up this side of the head is, I'm not blown away. by that. It's just a little bit more of that ear left in there. Okay, well, I got that loose anyway. Yeah, library, you know what you're looking at, but I don't even remember if mourning doves actually go through the ossified, not ossified age thing. I'm going to mention that it's fully ossified, but it might not matter for this. Oof. Okay, so yeah, this part was open to the air. There's a lot of crusty, dried blood in here, and it's dried. So I think this part actually, you know, the impact broke it open, so the skin was actually open to the air, and the blood dried a little bit. So, and you guys can see there's some concussion. So this is just blood that's sitting on the outside of the skull, so you can see the hard edges. But this kind of shadow, you can see there's, actually I'll touch my mouse, whatever, I'll clean it later. I think this is cool. Oh wait, I already had that window open. Boop. Let's get that zoom. There we go. Oh, what did I lose? Sorry, my bad. Okay, so let me find my focus area. There it is. So this is a concussion. That is what a concussion looks like. So the bone here is solid. This is a nice whole skull. There's no problem. Okay, Mr. Frightful, you can't see it, but you can see, yeah, those dark, cloudy bits. That's what a concussion looks like. So don't blow off a concussion, people. Don't be like, oh, it's just a concussion. Like, no. Concussions are horrifying. You know, so this is a break. This is blood on the outside of the skin, and you can kind of see the crack going forward here, and then this is the whole screwed up left side of the head. But the force, you know, when you're bashed on one side, your brain splatters against the other, and so the concussion's actually visible here on this other side. So, yeah. Now you know what a concussion looks like. So, wear your bike helmets, people. Wear your seatbelts. Let me get that back. And boop. Okay. I just have to clean my mouse later. It's okay. P.S. If you visit my house, don't use my computer. But it's 2020, so don't visit my house. Alright. Okay, so that tear is significant, but not the worst I've ever seen. So, yay. This eyeball might be ruptured. We'll find out. Okay. Oop. Sorry. I'm going to start with the bad eye just because I'm already here. So I'm cutting the eyelid loose. So there's a layer of tissue between, you know, your eyeball, which feels like it's moving freely, and the rest of you. So it's not like you can take your finger and stick it around behind your eyeball and touch your brain. So that's the part I have to cut through right now. If you can stick your finger around your eyeball and touch your brain, you should see a doctor. Okay, so the eyelid actually wasn't torn. It was the temple, or kind of eyebrow upper area. Mr. Frightful, don't tell me what I can and can't do. It's a free country. I can touch my own brain if I want to. Well, then take it as a strong suggestion. Alright, so I got that eyeball loose. So, damage that we can see here versus just what's normal when you're skinning a thing. So, that big dark thing is the eye. That looks more or less like it's supposed to be, except there's this crushed area up here, so it's not the right shape. And then all these feathers coming through are from a tear that's actually like along the temple. So it bashed along here and broke along that ridge of bone along the edge of the eye orbit, not the actual eyeball itself. So, which is not shocking. So, all right. Ooh, I'm getting a little dry here. If my skin dries out while I'm doing this, it becomes more likely to tear, so I have to occasionally re-wet it as I go. This guy's actually stayed in pretty good shape, but I don't want to, especially with all the trauma on this head, I don't want to screw that up. Okay. Alright, yeah, these eyelids are coming off pretty okay, so... Alright, yeah, so this side is looking much healthier, where the shape of the eye up on top is a nice even shape. The eye is a good purpley blue color. Everything over here is pretty normal, but man, that left side is not... Ooh, there's actually a little blood down by the beak. Weird fact about mourning doves, they drink water through their nose holes. So, that's cool. Yeah, it's just water that I use to re-wet it. Nothing fancy. But, yeah, they actually drink through their nares. So they keep their little beak shut, and they stick their whole beak into the water, and they suck up water through their nares. Which means if you have one in a cage, like if you're rehabbing it or something, you actually have to make sure the water is deep enough so they can stick their whole face into it. So, there's your weird mourning dove fact. Yeah, that break's not terrible, actually. Okay, so, yeah, there's a hole there, which I'm not happy about, but I'm not shocked by it, because I could tell that head was just in bad shape. The rest of it's not terrible. Skin down here a little bit. Okay. So, let's get the rest of this out. So now, after, carefully trying to preserve all this stuff, now I'm going to cut a big dang window in the back of his head. I have to get all those brains out of there. And so what I actually do is I cut a window, so, straight across the top here, and then down the sides, and then through his chin, and pull the whole back of the skull off, pull all the brains out, get the tongue out, things like that. This is not so shattered, I think it's going to be a problem, so that's nice. So I just have to slice through there. So let's get that. Actually, no, let me get the eyeballs first. I was so worried about eyeballs I forgot to take them out. So let's get these guys out of the way first. Yeah, this is so shattered up here. Oh yeah, that eyeball is totally got a hole in it. Yuck. Ooh, and it's just full of blood. Okay, so I don't know if anybody heard that or saw it squeak. It did actually make a noise. There's a hole in the eyeball up along the top here where this is shattered. And so I have to make sure it doesn't just squirt horrible eyeball goo everywhere. Because again, I don't want it on my specimen. Gross. There we go. So there's a slightly deflated dove eyeball. Alright, let's get the other one. Yeah, I'm going to need to clean this workspace. There are feathers just everywhere. Stupid drama. Killing birds. Making my desk messy. Alright, that should be loose. So hopefully this one doesn't pop. Oh, and then this is cool. Since this one is intact, you can kind of see if I push on it, that's the actual bird eyeball that you would see through its skin. So if I leave that, it's all sunken and gross. But if I push up, it actually kind of looks like the bird's eye again. And so this whole ring of tissue is what's behind the skin of the face. That part never sees the light of day. Or rather it does, because bird skin is really thin, but it's always covered. So there's a not deflated, nice, healthy, flying saucer-shaped bird eyeball. Yeah, this side looks way better. Alright, now I'm going to cut a window in the back of the head. Actually, I'm going to use my bigger scissors for this, I think. This guy's pretty beefy. So I want to preserve the hinge of the jaw when I'm doing this. Because if I can have the jaw still attached around the eye orbit, it's nice. It gives my skull a good shape. But, Alright, so I have a little bit of a window going on there. The skull is very hard and also shattery, so there's some fragments going off. It doesn't matter. And then, using my smaller scissors, let's go up along the jaw a little. Okay. Crunch. Crunch. Alright. Okay. So this piece that I just pulled out, this little bit here, that's its tongue. So that's some little birdie tongue. And then that's the back of the skull, and all of that under there is brains. And, some throat bits and other useful things. If you're a bird and it's your head. And then I've got a bunch of brains still in here. I have to get that out. So the brain wasn't liquefied. It was definitely, had a concussion, but there's some good structure left into this. So the bird probably died of the whole event, not just the concussion. But there's enough other stuff going on here. It wasn't in good shape. Alright, that's not bad. So now I just have to trim out all of the, little bits. I want a nice mask of bone here that'll give me structure, but I don't need too much stuff here, so I can just trim that. Yeah, that's a nice solid bone head. Get all these middle bits. Alright, so that's pretty much, I say that and I find a big morsel. Basically, at this point, I've destroyed the skull quite thoroughly in an effort to get it clean enough that I can leave all this behind in the head. And so I'm getting out all of the brains and sinus material, most of the jaw muscles, the palate, garbage like that. Stuff that the bird's not using anymore and is just going to be wet tissue and things that are in my way when I'm trying to make the bird form. So I can cut out a little bit more palate, but then this guy is pretty much there. Okay, so there's a nice clean skull. So that will just give me enough structure that when I put the whole thing back together, it'll be a good shape. All right. Oh, I let the body get a little damp here. Or dry. I need to make it damp. It's a little too dry. All right. So now my challenge is to turn the head right side out again without ripping that tear even worse. So he's got a big tear. You can see light through it. Not good. So the best way to start with that is I kind of very, very, very gently try to feed the beak through so I can feel it. There. I can there, you can have just the vaguest tip of a beak there. And so that way I know when I'm pushing, I'm not just like pushing it right through the neck and making an additional hole, which I don't need. Thank you very much. So, of course I can't tug very hard like I normally would because I might rip it. Okay. Well, overall, it looks like a bird. That side looks great. That's a bird right there. Yay. So there's my big old hole in his poor little noggin. But that's fine. The fact that it's farther from the eyes and the corners of the mouth means that when I repair it, it'll be a pretty straight job. So that doesn't bother me too much. Okay, well... Wow, yeah, this is a tough one. This is a challenge bird. Let me close you up. Okay, so that is now a fully skinned bird. So this is a bird skin. I have removed all of the major muscle, all the organs, a lot of the bones, most of the bones, and gotten a lot of good data about its injuries. It is, however, not done because it's just flat and gross. So, at the behest of my various and wonderful viewers, I will be taking a break. I'm going to go drink some water, and I will clean this up a little bit because right now, I move this. My workspace is just this pile of growd. So before, and this is something I always try to do, if I'm between steps, like, okay, I have finished this section of the bird, you reorganize your workspace. Clean up everything that needs to be cleaned up, get rid of the tools you're not using, make sure you have the tools that you're going to need for the next step, just like do a full mindful reset. So I'm going to do that as part of this break. So I'm going to take a 5, maybe up to 10 minute break, give me a chance to get this, because I think today I'm going to stuff this guy. I want to just get it one and done. I should be able to do that, but I kind of want to reassess. So give me a minute, let me get all this stuff set. So also, reminder to everybody else, you guys could probably also use a beverage, bio break, things like that. So I'll be back in 5 to 10. All right, I am back. As you can see, I have greatly cleaned my workspace. What a difference. It took a lot to get all those wood shavings up. Now I have a lot of repair work to do. And so my goal right now, and lab people who are on, you guys will know this one. What I'm going to do right now is I'm going to repair the tears and then see where I'm at. I don't want to start stuffing the bird and then put it back in the freezer. It'll get too dry. It kind of messes up the preservation a little bit. So really once you start stuffing it, you want to finish it. So what I want to see is how much of a pain in the butt it's going to be to repair all those tears. And if I do all the repair work and I'm really tilty and don't feel good, then I shouldn't keep going, trying to, completely stuff the bird tonight. If, however, I do those tears, they come together, and I'm feeling real jazzed, then I can keep going. So, yeah, I don't have to commit to finishing it all in one go if it's just not how it's going to work out. Also, I love everybody's conversation about teas. People after my own heart. So, I do have the stuff on the off chance. Good luck with no tears. Thank you. Because you know it's real. I have all the stuff here just in case I'm ready to stuff it. Why not? Why not set up super glue time, iron-on patches? Yeah, sure. Just get a whole second bird and just cover up the bad parts with the second bird. Yeah. No, this one's for science. So I gotta be extra, professional and do it all right. No fudging on this. It's funny because the tears actually don't necessarily make it less valuable as a scientific specimen, although anything that takes away from the body shape or how easy it is to work with is bad. So, Alright, so I've got my basic needle and thread, cotton thread, nothing fancy here. Cotton is great. Yeah, library rat, don't say that because the tail's about to fall off. The tail's 2 seconds away from falling off. So I think we might actually enter into that dangerous realm while I'm working on this. However, I'm going to start on the head because I think it's a really straightforward little crush and tear. And I want that just done. I don't want it to dry so much that I have to think about it. Actually, get a little cotton here. So this is the cotton I could fill it with, but I won't. Yeah. Cytocrylate is reversible. Oh, yes, definitely. As possible polymers and resins go, I'm sure that would come right off. Exhibits nerd. Alright, so this kind of tear could have been also good for me to repair while the bird's head was still inside out, but in this case I think being able to see where I'm at is going to help me a little bit more. So I think I want to do this. I think. The funny thing with torn skin, and I have to imagine doctors come across this, although I don't know, is that it doesn't tear in a line. It's not that easy. There'll be little offshoots, it'll curve, and of course skin is stretchy, so it's more like having a tear in really baggy elastic. And so it's not like I just put the two sides together and they instantly look perfect most of the time. A lot of times it's a little more vague. Thanks, man. I really appreciate it. Alright. When in doubt, just get started. Yeah, the crusty, dried-on edges are a bit rough here, too. But they also tell me I'm in the right area because that's where the original tear was. And I probably did stress this tear a little bit, so it's probably bigger than it had been because of the work I was doing around it, but I don't think there's any other way I could have gotten the head done without stressing it a little. So I'm not too mad. A little mad, not too mad. Sewing heads, not my favorite. And of course this will look bad because there's dried blood on it, which I'll try to tidy up a little bit, but the damage of whatever road rash and old blood and things like that is just going to make this look kind of gnarly, but I bet I'll be able to clean it up pretty well. So, moose, yes, this is a different bird. This one is a little mourning dove. Also, Moose, I've been watching you put that garage together. It's actually looking like a garage, so way to go on you. But okay, and your adhesive nerds are still going on about that. If it takes it takes acetone, I'm not putting it on my bird. But yeah, if anybody's interested, Moose Does Stuff is literally building a garage on stream. So yeah, I think as soon as you get that roof on there, it'll really, really look like an actual garage. Right now it looks like a, model of a garage. But hello, Brian. But no, it's real nice. Okay. So, for people who just got here, this little mourning dove was found by the side of a busy road in June, presumed hit by a car, and given all of the damage that I'm seeing, it died of some sort of horrible trauma. So we're presuming hit by a car. It's pretty sad. Like, right now I'm sewing its head back. There was a big gash. Hello, Brian! Actually, for specimens I'm used to working with, June is fresh. I would freeze it for a minimum of 10 days anyway to kill any sort of, parasites. I don't need fleas crawling on my hands while I'm doing this. Thank you very much. I have worked on birds that are, have been frozen for 17 years, 20 years. The oldest specimen that my lab worked on, I think we worked on it in 2018, and it was from 1978. So yeah, this is a whippersnapper. Have I worked on mice? Oh yeah, tons. Birds are more my specific specialty, I suppose. But yeah, and actually the taxidermy classes that I teach are with rats. So, why would people store a bird for 30 years? Thank you. What an absolutely perfect question. Because museum people are weird, and they will take on more specimens than they actually have time to do, and things get forgotten. So that is bad. So having a bird in your freezer for 30 years is bad. Bad, museum. Do better. Yeah. It was, when we came across that sanderling, it was like, is this real? Oh my god, and it was so freezer burned. It was a nightmare, but an amazing volunteer named Samantha managed to make it look like a great little study specimen. She did a good job. Oh yeah, no, it's an interesting freezer. Going into the archives of a museum is already fun, but going into the freezers of those archives is where stuff gets real weird. Because that's the stuff that's not done or someone's hanging on to as a special project, whatever scope creep kind of stuff you're looking for. So the worst thing I found in those freezers at the Chicago Academy of Sciences was a bucket of horrible turtles. Do people taxi their pets? Yes, they do. We actually talked about that a lot last week. You can Google it. People will taxi your pets. You're looking at a couple of grand. P.S. If it costs less than a couple of grand, you probably don't want them taxiderming your pets. But yeah, there was a bucket of horrible turtles where someone had sawed their plasterons off. So they were, plasteron is the bottom shell, so you have the top carapace and the bottom plasteron. And someone had taken a saw to the connection points and actually pulled their plasterons off, which of course means all their guts fell out. This is presumably a herpetologist, presumably a researcher digging around for something. I don't know what it was, but after they pulled all these plasterons off and had these turtles' guts coming out, they chucked them all in a bucket with that just said turtles for taxidermy or turtles for preservation or something, and just threw it in the freezer for a duration of time, an unspecified duration of time. And so I opened this bucket and I'm just like, what is this nightmare? The turtles all definitely had their plastrons cut off after death, so it wasn't, actually it was worse than that, because they weren't wet, they had freeze dried, so it was like dangling mummified turtle guts instead of a solid block. Oh, it was bad. And because you just got to keep paying it forward, man, I had so many high school students work on those turtles and brand new volunteers who wanted to work in the lab. I was like, well, until I have a chance to train you, do you want to clean a turtle shell? So, yeah, they were just loose in the bucket, no fluid, just like a classic, 5-gallon industrial bucket full of, so that so far is the worst thing I pulled out of a neglected freezer at a museum. So, it's dumb with meat raffle, oh god. And then you get chased out of town, like, no, man. That's how you lose friends. Oh, it was the worst. What is the best thing I've pulled out of a neglected freezer? Oh man. Oh, there's so many good ones. I'm gonna give a shout out to the great blue heron that I worked on. I had a juvenile great blue heron. Like, it was this close to being a full adult. It was starting to get the cool wispies, things like that. It had died at a animal rescue. So someone had actually found it injured, taken it to an animal rescue. They had tried working with it for a couple of days. It didn't make it. And so when it passed away, they took all the data down. They took its weight and measurements and things like that, and then gave it to the museum. And that specimen, I worked on that guy. Hilariously, it took me 3 years because I worked on it one day a year at this special event at the Nature Museum. And it was a beautiful bird. I mean, it's a great blue heron, so it's like 3 feet tall. Its wingspan was like 7 feet. It was just this absolutely gorgeous creature. And it was a real joy to work on. It was a really lovely bird. So it's sad that it died. I'm glad people tried to save it. But now it can be used for science, and that's kind of cool. So I think the great blue heron's my favorite thing I pulled out of there. Yeah, no, working on a specimen one day a year is not standard. But it was this huge open house. So the museum would have this big open house, and the first year I did it outdoors. So we had a big folding table next to a pond, so I could be like, a bird like this lives in a pond like this. It was a real cool setup. And we did it for this special event, and I got it basically like mostly skinned out, but then the next year I finished skinning it, and then the final year I stuffed it. So again, that's not a standard practice for how you taxidermy a great blue heron, but it worked out, and it was cool because people would come every year to this event and get the update on how the heron was doing. So people who remembered year after year. So, and it just waited in the freezer for me. You just wrap it in wet paper towels and make sure it's in a sealed bag so it doesn't freeze dry anymore, and fine. So, what's the longest I've taken to do one? Probably the longest would be one of the great horned owls. We had great horned owls, right? It's a big bird. So it's I don't remember what the wingspan is. They're hefty birds. Great horned owls, pretty significant bird. On top of this bird had been hit by a car, which is pretty common for birds of prey that we find because they're eating something on the road and then someone mushes into them. So this was a road-killed owl, so I had a lot of repair on its shoulder, especially. Other areas, but the shoulder was just like caved in. So I had to do a lot of sewing and repair and rebuilding. And on top of that, its last meal was probably a skunk. Most birds don't have much in the way of a sense of smell. Turkey vultures being the big exception there. And so great horned owls absolutely love eating skunk. And so this one's just rank of skunk. So we kept washing it to try and get the skunk smell out. So yeah, in terms of time spent on that, just if you include the fact that we washed it like a dozen times, and when you wash it, you fully blow dry it to see if it's in better shape and to see if the smell is dissipated. And then you're like, no, and then you wash it again. That great horned owl was weeks. That was weeks. That was, I mean, we'd probably work on that thing for maybe a 4-hour go, 2 or 3 times a week for weeks. So that's like 60 hours of owl. Ugh, that was a gnarly beast. That was a rough one. So yeah, I'd say that one of the great horned owls that I've done was probably the longest, and it was weeks of cleaning, because I don't tend to do show pieces. If you're doing show taxidermy, so the life-mounted specimens that look alive, they've got the beautiful glass eyes, they're in a lifelike pose, those can take even longer. That's a whole sculptural world. My specimens tend to be like this guy, where they're research specimens. And so the end result is going to be this torpedo bird that fits in a drawer. And so that's not the part that I lose time on. The parts that take forever is just cleaning it and getting it archivally stable, so that when we put it into the collection, it doesn't rot. And that great horned owl, was a doozy. Yeah, because even the, the heron didn't take that long. Although I have to admit, I cheated a little bit, and I had an intern wash the heron for me. I had an intern. He loved it. Shout out to Emrys, the greatest intern I ever had. Okay, I went and got a knot in my thread at this stupid point. Why? Oh, come on. Of all the dumb things, I have a knot in the middle of my thread here, and I think I'm going to have to just redo this. Yeah, okay, maybe I'm not finishing this specimen tonight if I can't even keep my basic thread from getting wonkadoo on me. The physically longest, like the, as in how many inches long kind of thing, the heron's the biggest. Well, okay, the heron was the longest specimen, because if you're looking at, you lay the thing out on the table with its wings out, herons are big. Herons are a real big bird. However, the great horned owl was probably heavier. So, yeah, largest total mass would be the great horned owl. Almost certainly. Because I haven't actually, again, I don't work on mammals a ton, so obviously the moment you throw a mammal on the table, the mammal weighs more than the bird. But the largest mammal that I've personally worked on, well, okay, no, actually, I take that back. I'm sorry. I forgot about this summer. The largest mammal I've ever worked on was a beaver. No bears, no mooses, nothing like that. No, a beaver. I'm sorry, I forgot all about that. Which is silly because it was really cool. I'm just gonna have to throw away all this thread. I'm getting rid of this. Yeah, beavers are rad. So I've this summer alone, I've actually skinned 3 beavers, in conjunction with a couple other people, and the heftiest beaver of that group was 56 pounds. So that's the most massive critter that I've worked on. Beavers are big. If a beaver charges you, you turn and run away. Like, that's a big old critter. With big, yeah, no, she was massive. She was this big old girl. So yeah, I worked on 3 different nuisance beavers who unfortunately were shot to be removed from areas where they were damming and it was causing problems. So, that's always a little bit of a bummer, but they were pretty cool. And yeah, that 56-pound beaver was a gnarly freaking huge thing. I did all of those projects with other people, and skinning during COVID is interesting because, everybody's got masks on, which kind of helps with the smell. Why would a beaver charge? Oh man, there's so many jokes. Moose, you just set up a joke. I don't even want to go with how obvious all the jokes of that would be. The actual biology answer was they would charge at you if you're in their territory. They're very territorial. They don't want you to mess with their stuff. They don't want you to mess with their family. So a beaver will come at you if you're in their territory. I will not go for all the obvious jokes. Mrs. Frightful said that her dad used to feed frozen beavers to the dogs. You can eat beaver. It's apparently pretty good. Thank you. Meganera, you're on it. Yeah, like the prize part is like the tail, but the whole thing is it's just a big rodent. They're perfectly good eating. So I have not eaten beaver. I would be up to it if someone else cooked it and knew what they were doing. But yeah, and I mean you could tell it was probably good meaty critter. I don't eat my lab specimens, so we giggled about it, but we didn't take any pieces. I do know people who have eaten their lab specimens. That is a thing that occurs, but that's not me. So, point of note. Oh, what is the smallest I've worked on? Ruby-throated hummingbird. That was freezer burned. That, yes, and Mega, you're completely right. According to the Vatican, beaver are fish. You can eat them during Lent. But yeah, the smallest specimen I've ever worked on was a ruby-throated hummingbird. That's real small. I skinned one of them and then realized I didn't have to because they were so freeze-dried that the rest of them I just finished freezer drying and they looked really great. But yeah, ruby-throwing hummingbird, what is that? Like, yeah, there's nothing there. They have like 6 feathers on a little dab of body. Like it's, oh my god, yeah, no, ruby-throated hummingbird, by far the smallest. The other smallest thing I've done was a shrew. God, what species was that? I don't remember the species of shrew. It was some sort of Midwestern U.S. species. And the shrew was real little. Like, shrews are small. But the shrew's head was probably the size of the hummingbird's whole freaking, like, torso. It was... So, yeah. Bar none. Smallest specimen. Ruby-throated hummingbird. Not something I would repeat, but I was real proud with how that one came out, let me tell you. Yeah. In good news, this tear is coming along nicely, so I feel really good about getting this wing back on correctly. It's a little bunchy, it's a little weird, but because I'm sewing through a feather track, I should have known that it tore right along a feather track, which is where they do. For those who don't know, flying birds, doves, sparrows, a lot of birds, chickens, heck. A lot of birds grow their feathers along tracks. So they actually have big naked parts and then lines of feathers, and the feathers just poof out and cover the naked parts. And the quality of the skin is just a little different there. So, but for anybody who cooks their own chicken at home, you can actually look at the skin and see the feather tracks. So even though they've ripped all the feathers out, you can see the lines. So, stuff to do in your kitchen when you're making dinner next time. Another thing about prepping those beavers was dealing with their tails. Gosh, their tails are weird. There is no muscle inside the tail. It's all like dense fat and tendons, just like an absolute beautiful tree of tendons. And so they pull on the tendons to get the whole thing to curl. It's very mechanical. It's very interesting. So when you're skinning it, it's mostly to get the skin away from the bone, not to get all that fat out of there. It's very weird. Pseudonine and fish are plants, as we are aware. So yeah, doing the beavers were weird. There was a lot of strange structures, and then they've got their castorum glands, which are stinky and strange, and just beavers. They're a weird animal. I'll go back to birds. Thank you very much. I'm good at doing birds. I mean, the beavers came out okay. Although we actually never, this summer, didn't finish prepping the skins. Our goal this year was, while the weather was nice and we could do things outside, to get these beavers completely skinned, and their skins were nicely folded and put in the freezer. And then next summer, we'll probably have to tan them. Because beaver skin, you wouldn't do a little study skin like this. They're far too massive an animal. And so instead, you're looking at tanning the hide. And with that, we'd want to have nicer weather, and that's a whole different world. So next year, we'll finish those. Got to be patient. Because in times of COVID, you need to be considerate of being able to do things outside with your peers. And some of that stuff is stinky anyway. Tanning is super stinky. And I hope I get to help with that. I don't know. Since I was laid off from the museum, I don't know if I'll be part of that, but a girl can dream. Okay, I've almost got this first tear done. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to try stuffing this guy today. I want to get these... I want to be thorough about getting all these holes repaired, and I want to start fresh before I try doing, like, the final beautiful thing, so... Yep, got a travel case, and with COVID, you don't go anywhere. Yeah, no, it's rough, but you know what? I'll have a crappy year, and then please everybody get vaccinated. Listen to your doctors, so we can all be freaking done with this, and I can go back to doing fun stuff. Like skinning beavers with my friends. Or whatever. And, like, I don't know if I'll get my lab back because I'm no longer employed by that museum, but you know what? I will find a different lab. I will do something else. Hypothetically, I do have a taxidermy class lined up for February. So, you know, find new things, try new stuff. You know what? I think I can just tie this off here and not worry about this. Oh, nice! Vaccinations are starting on Tuesday. Yay, healthcare workers getting vaccines. Yeah. I am so glad that you know, interestingly, I was reading about the COVID vaccine was actually, it's a new type of, you know, the way the vaccine actually functions is a new type. And they started doing the research with the SARS outbreak. So it was a different, that was technically kind of a pandemic. It jumped a lot of countries. And so, you know, they started being like, okay, this is something we super hate and we want to fix. So what do we do about it? And so they've been researching this stuff since whenever that was, 2008. And then with this year, they're like, okay, this is what we're going to point all that research towards. And so they'd already done this massive amount of base research and then just applied it to the current horrific calamity. And okay, neat. So it's kind of fun to see this stuff that people just keep learning from. So, yeah. And, you know, I'm not in any of the target groups, so I probably won't be able to get a vaccine for, like, ever. Hopefully by this time next year. But that's because I'm not a healthcare worker, I'm not a frontline worker, and I don't have any of the medical conditions that would make me particularly at risk. So I would like all those people to be vaccinated first. Thank you very much. I am really delighted to know that that's on the horizon. Okay, so there were 2 holes, major holes in this wing. I got one of them, oh, that looks good. Yeah, I got one of them sewn up. So the nice thing is the birds are fluffy, and so I don't have to get it to be like the most perfect stitch ever. It doesn't have to be like a jean hem. I just have to get it to function, to hold together at all. And I got it holding it together at all, so I feel good about that. Let's get this other one. Yeah, we're close. So it's close. We should get a before the end of the year at least. So, oh yeah, Pseudo, right. So Pseudonine's hospital is on it, and so the moment it gets completely, all the hurdles are cleared, they're gonna deploy and get it out there right away. Okay. So I'm effectively sewing this bird's armpit up, which armpits are a weird part of your body anyway, and having it be torn is just weird on top of that. So this is its own freaking challenge. What did you do today? Oh, I sewed up an armpit. As one does. This second tear over here doesn't look to be as bad as that first one. Oop, and I'm drying out here a little bit. If I hear the skin make a kind of papery sound, it's like, whoop, that's a little too dry. Not what I want to hear. Oh, yeah, no, Mr. Frightful, since you're in the land of Brexit, that's a whole different world. But... From sewing up armpits in costume shops? Yeah. Okay, I'm almost far enough on this that I think I'll just call it a good enough stitch. Okay, I'm going to call that good enough, so let me tie this off. Alright, so that's one hole. There's a bunch of other ones that I'm not going to worry about. They're too small, but I think the other wing still needs some attention, and then I will worry about the tail. I'm totally avoiding the tail, and saving it for last. I've really found that when I'm doing repairs like this, I start with the easy ones, and then move towards the hardest ones, because if it's all ripped up, and it's all hanging in tatters, and it looks terrible... The big things are, you can't. You've lost context, you've lost structure, you don't really know how to put it together. But you start zapping all the really easy ones. You're like, okay, this is this big, and I can just put 2 stitches and it's better. It starts to tighten the whole thing up, and suddenly you have a sheet as opposed to just a tattered mess, and you can actually see what needs to be repaired and how to do it. So I always start with the easy repairs and then move on towards hard. Okay, so from this side... Okay. Alright, yeah, so there's wood shavings in here, because I've been using a lot of wood shavings, but that actually covers up, so... Okay, so I got that one repaired. Let's do the other one. This side is only one tear. Only one tear. Okay, and it's smaller. Okay. This is doable. All right. Yeah, now I get in here. What am I even looking at? I hate when the feathers come through because then everything's all topsy-turvy. But of course, that's what a tear do, so it's not like a surprising side effect, it's just a bummer. The hard part is not to sew feathers into the skin. You have to kind of dodge between them, and that's part of the challenge, because if you sew them down, then it always looks funny. Yeah, this it tore right along the feather track under the arm. I think these are just my mistake. I don't know if this has anything to do with the trauma that this bird suffered. I think it's just me biffing it. It's alright. Tears happen. You know, it's funny trying to think about, the sizes of critters that I've worked on, because my specialty is small, and so that's why, like, I instantly know the smallest thing I've done, whereas the big ones, it's like, I don't know, I've done a couple, they're weird. Because they all seem big compared to warblers, hummingbirds. Taxiderming a hummingbird is dumb. Never do that again, that was stupid. It was fun, though, I felt really good. And it was a cool specimen. It looked really good. So. Well, I shouldn't say it looked really good. It looked good. It was pretty freezer dried, so it had lost a little bit of its luster, but that's not my fault. That's crazy museum people keeping stuff in the freezer for like 30 years. Okay, that's sewn up enough. There's one feather coming in from this other hole, but the hole I was working on is all sewn up. Alright. I totally have video game music in my head, like adventuring music. Did I get it sexed? No, not yet. I might do that tonight, just for fun. Do all the stuffing next week. We'll see, but no, I haven't gone through there. For one thing, that body is so knocked around, it's gonna be a little gross getting inside of that. But oh, the hummingbird. No, that was not sexed. Unfortunately, that's before I had really learned how to do the sexing, so I didn't even try, which is too bad. The lost era of not knowing, because man, trying to figure out the sex on birds is hard. It is hard. It involves cutting open their abdomens and digging around between their intestines and their kidneys, looking for gonads, and at the time I did not know how to do that, let alone on a freaking hummingbird. So no, unfortunately that one is lost. Okay. Whew, this is bad. Okay, so I don't know how well I can show you guys these holes in a way that's going to visually make sense. So like this little hole I don't care about. What I'm looking at is down here. So there's this big gap here. This is a tear in and of itself. Oh my god. So yeah, there's this hole and then there's this hole. And the tail is still attached, but tenuously. Okay, so I think I'm going to put the tail on last. So the question is, how does this hole close up? So I have a circle, and I have to figure out if it closes like this, or if it closes like this, or like, where's the start and end kind of thing. If I lay the skin down, does this make any more sense? Yes, it does. Okay, I know where the first stitch needs to go. Oh, I don't have my thread ready, though. Whoop, 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 whoops, whoops. Yeah, Meganura, I don't know if you ever met Anna Chin. She was a phenomenal assistant manager of the collection, and I'd already done some bird sexing, but she's the one who taught me, and she had like diagrams, and we made a how-to booklet and things like that, and it was like, oh, finally I have the steps written down instead of someone just trying to explain them to me verbally, which was a bummer. So yeah, Anna Chin, fantastic human being, filled with knowledge and good at actually presenting that knowledge in a way that's useful. So okay, so so many feathers lost from this traumatic injury. Let's see. Okay, so I'm pretty confident that's how that was torn. I say that and then I lose my confidence. What is this? That's fat. Okay. Okay, I think I can see how this was torn, but it's in some gnarly rough shape. You've lost so many names and faces. Yeah, no, that's fair. There's a lot of humans on the planet. And just trust me, Anna. Good people. Yeah, because like the top people who have taught me the coolest stuff about taxidermy are Dave Willard at the Field, Ben Marks at the Field, Anna for sure at the Chicago Academy of Sciences, and Tom Noske at the Field. Those are all them some cool frickin' humans. If you should ever meet one of them, tell them they are great. If you ever should meet two of them, tell them both they are equally great. Dave Willard could sex anything, which is just a funny sentence without context. It was funny because everybody would just bring their specimens to him and be like, so, what is the sex on this bird? And he'd just be like, oh, that's a blah, blah, blah. Like, just, tiny, tiny little things. It was crazy. If you meet through a moor, you're running around with the wrong crowd. Yeah. They don't hang around in groups. Are you kidding me? Crazy preservationists. Yeah, there are some people that just, like, your eyes just adjust and you can see data. It's like mushroom hunters. You can't see the mushrooms until you suddenly see them. Bird gonads. You don't see the gonads until you suddenly see them. Ugh. Skin is starting to tear. But I've got a good... You know what? Let me just tie a knot here. Let's just... If it's starting to dry out on me and tear, then keep the progress I've made before I try anything else. What does this look like from this side? Oh, that's better. Sew anything into that? Yes, I did. Oh no, I think that's where that's supposed to go. Is that where that's supposed to go? No, okay, I made a mistake. I don't know if you guys are going to be able to see this. Let me get out of my own light here. So there's a line of stitches kind of along here. You can see the knot up there. I accidentally got the edge of the body stuck in a stitch. So I'm going to actually have to cut that stitch. That's annoying. Oh well. And this is what I'm afraid of. I think I'm getting tired. Because that was an avoidable mistake. So it's not a big deal, but it's annoying that I have to undo the work. So I definitely won't be finishing this specimen tonight. If I'm already making biffs like that. That's okay. Not ideal. Not the worst. I wonder if I can tie this into a knot and have it stay. No, I don't think so. Nope, I'm just going to pull that out. Well, the good news is I can see how I would fix that, but the bad news is I didn't just fix it just then. Okay. Yeah, no, I think I gotta call it. You make a dumb mistake, you take that sign. Yeah, that was a dumb mistake. So the good news is a lot of this is coming together. So let me move the camera here so you guys can see this. You know, the head is fine. The head is doing what it's supposed to be doing. So that all looks just totally fine up there. I got these together. I'm really, because this was just spouting feathers. That was a real problem. And so now my next thing is to get this tail on. And you know what? The tail matters the least. That's covered in fluff. It won't be as obvious. And that's where all the damage was. That's I mean, definite road rash and stuff like that. So I am not going to push this. I'm not going to try and finish this. Oh, nuts. I meant to get another paper towel. Okay, so I'm going to have to... Library rat, thank you. Oh, I could use the chair. It's hard to know when to stop, but I gotta stop. So next Saturday, I'll finish this guy up. I will repair the bottom and get that back together, and then actually stuff it. So, yeah, no, we'll wait for next week. Not gonna push it, and that's okay. That's just how it goes sometimes. So, all right, then. Excellent Humans. I think I'm going to call it. I am obviously tired. So next week I will finish the bird and I will sex the body and figure out, if there's any additional food in its stomach, fun things like that. So I have to finish the data collection on that side. No, Megan Arrow, thank you for, you brought the fun. Thanks for being part of that. You guys, man, Library Rat, you're feeling the bits. Thank you. This stuff is so cool. I really love working on the birds. If someone would mind, if someone who has clean hands can type !Discord. I do have a Discord. Everybody's invited to. So if you have any other questions or anything that comes up after this that I didn't address today, you can ask me. Or give me your favorite cookie recipe, whatever. Discords are fun. Thank you. So, yeah, hang out on the Discord. If you think of anything else that you're like, how does this work, or whatever, feel free to ask me on there. I can post follow-up answers. Stuff like that. It's wrap-up time, y'all. I'm gonna go make, mint tea and sit back. But hey, thanks for hanging out with me. And so, for anybody who's seen my streams before, I'm trying to start these a little earlier because I had found myself getting tired. This one started at 6:30. I might even next week be, crazy and start at 6. We'll see how that actually goes. It gives me a little more time to work on stuff. I just also want to have time for dinner. Important stuff. So, alright, and then I'll be, my usual Tuesday weekday silliness of chatting and working on projects. I might do a Warbler midweek. We'll see how that goes. So thank you again, everybody, for hanging out with me and chatting. I really appreciate it while I'm working on this little guy. And it'll be beautiful when I'm done. It's a great bird, so even if I was a little ham-fisted, it'll carry me through to the end. So for the rest of the week, Take care of yourselves, stay healthy and safe, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.